So what's the biggest thing I got wrong about audio? Underestimating how complicated it is. And not just like a little bit. Not just like a medium bit. Just like a ton. I thought audio was easy because I was always interested in the visual stuff, the video stuff. And I've done many videos about shooting log gammas and raw and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff's very complex. And I found it difficult to explain the principles, but it's nothing, nothing compared to audio. I just can't believe it, how complicated it is. So, in my goal to teach people that 32-bit float does not make the gain knob obsolete and does not remove clipping, how do I explain that? So I have explained it in various videos, and I get many comments. So even if I track my journey, so when you learn audio in a sense, you're learning each little thing about how it's put together, how it works. And let's just say there are 100 of those variables, because they're just countless variables. There's nothing simple in audio. That's the thing. I thought it was simple. I thought, okay, you have the sampling rate, you have the bit, high sampling rate, high bit depth. You're covered. That's all you need. That's all there is to it. And so you don't need to worry about anything else. And you don't. You don't. But the funny thing about audio, and it's music industry and everything, is that you have, and this is it's in the same person, right? We're all like this. Part of us is like, I want to get like perfect quality audio. I want to get this precision, right? I want the super precision, the super capability to do things, to get everything perfect and precise. But as soon as we get that, we want to rough it up. And this is why I love one of those Dave Rat videos where he talks about like this. The first thing you do when you get something very precise is you want to like rough it up and make it look realistic, make it look real, make it look, soulful, emotional. So it's, how do you deal with that stuff? And so when you attack let's say the precise part of it, which I'm doing in a sense, the problem is that it's not about the precision to anyone. It's about the idea that the more precise you are, the better you are. But again, the same person, it's like, well, I know actually that's silly. Like, I could have the best equipment in the world. It doesn't mean I'm going to write a song that anyone wants to listen to. So then you jump and you go, oh, I want to write the song that I want to listen to, and I have this pristine equipment, and I want to write this chord, but the chord is just way too clean and aesthetic. It's like from a hospital. It's sterile. Fuzz pedal, distortion, whatever. I need to dirty this up. I'm going to go play in my closet, whatever, right? And so we're literally insane. If you're in audio, you are by definition insane, because you can't get where you want to go with precision and understanding how things work in a physical level. And you can't get there just by being completely dirty and by ignoring all the equipment, right? And just putting your cell phone down and singing, or playing your guitars. You can't do it that way either. You have to go back and forth. You have to be not bipolar, but schizophrenic. I don't know what it is, but you just have to be nuts. So anything that sort of questions, like points to, when you analyze it and you're like, oh, well, wait, this isn't getting me the precision I want, or it could be the roughness I want, or the emotions I want, makes people insecure, and then they don't want to listen to it, which I understand. And I don't know why I want to understand these things. So that's just my personality. I need to understand things. I don't take anything a priori. Anything is a given. I don't care who you are. If Einstein today came to me and said, this is how relativity works, I was like, well, prove it. Like, I got to figure it out for myself that what you're saying is true. And it's just people like us. And society needs people like us, right, to always question things, because that's how you advance things. You really question it, and then you find somewhat of an advance or a better way of looking at it, or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So, for instance, somebody could watch my videos and be like, oh, wait, Max is basically saying that all this equipment I have is absolutely, completely overkill. And I shouldn't be looking for more precision here. I shouldn't be looking for 32-bit float. I shouldn't even be looking for 24-bit. What I should be doing is setting my gain levels correctly to get the signal that I want, the sound that I want, and get to doing the passion, emotional stuff. Get to creating stuff that people want to watch, like something that's, again, that's rough, meaningful, whatever. Okay, so that's what you would get out of, my videos. Or you might get out of them like, oh, I'm never going to do that stuff. But I am, like him, I'm very curious. I want to know. I want to know, how does it work? So the video I did a couple of days ago, so I've been working on this big, long video. Not a long video, but video explaining like bit depth and why 32-bit float doesn't work, or just even understanding bit depths. So I wanted to do like 60 seconds. 60 seconds, I want to put this whole segment. So I started to work on the 60-second segment. It became 30 minutes of video. So I'm just going to post it. So that's what I posted the other day, this 30-minute whatever. Now here again, after I did that, I'm like, okay, now I'm really going to discipline myself. I'm going to do a few-minute video just about this one aspect of bit depth, let's just say. And so I did it. And then again, 20 hours went into researching it. And now, though the research has paid off and I feel like I understand it, how am I going to explain it to you? It's like 50 things I need to explain. However I explain it, somebody in the comments will say, well, but what about this? And because I maybe only explained like 10 of the 50, and now he's saying, well, what about this other, 40 things, or some other thing that, whatever. Like, you can't explain everything. That's what I'm saying. It's such a complex topic. It's hard when you get comments, when you're talking about it, to explain to somebody how something works when they, like me, like a lot of people like me years ago, think that this is a simple subject. It is not. It is way, way complex. And I'd say like most of the stuff I thought I knew about it was just wrong-headed. It was right in the context of what I guess I was thinking. So it's right that you don't need to really worry about bit depth and, if you want to record something. But it's wrong in that I didn't really understand like how it works and why it's important not to look at bit depth, but other factors. So in the video that I wanted to do about bit depth, like a thing that I find that it's very difficult to explain, is when you record audio, if I ask you right now, which is better fidelity, 24-bit or 16-bit, when you're recording your microphones, guitars, whatever, which is better? You would say 24-bit, right? I mean, that's what I would have said years ago. That's probably what I would have even said 3 weeks ago. But the answer is no. No, it's not better. I mean, it's better theoretically, but it's not better in the real world. So if in the real world it's not better, then what are you doing? Why are you using it? Why are you using something that makes no difference to what you're doing, right? I mean, think hard about it, right? Like, why? Why do it? And then, so you say, okay, Max, I agree. I don't agree or disagree. Just explain to me why 24-bit isn't better than 16-bit. And that is really difficult to explain. Like I said, I was coming about this a year ago, trying to explain why 32-bit float is ridiculous. And then now I've discovered, wait, 24-bit is ridiculous. So what am I going to say tomorrow to you? That 16-bit is ridiculous and 8-bit is ridiculous, right? I mean, you're going to be like, you're crazy. So the problem in explaining why 24-bit is ridiculous, or not that, the thing I want to explain to you that I didn't understand, that I think you do want to understand, that everybody should understand, is that when your computers and all your equipment, when they take the signal, the voltages from microphones, guitars, whatever, they fill up the space of the container that they have. So if it's 24-bit, it expands all the range of values into 24-bit, right? So then if you go look up 24-bit and say, well, what's the dynamic range? You say, okay, it's 144 dB. So I look at the range and I see I have low values and high values in 24-bit. I have about 144 dB of room to put my stuff. So that's good. If I put into 16-bit, I have 96 dB of room to put my stuff. So that's less room, less dynamic range. So how do I explain to you that that they're the same? Now, they're not the same mathematically, of course. There are way more values in 24-bit than there are in 16-bit. In 16-bit, you have 65,000 integers to play with, essentially. And in 24-bit, you have 16 million. The problem is that, let's just say, and the thing I want to do the video about, is when you take the voltages from, again, any of your equipment, and you line them up properly, they fill less than 65,000 positions. So again, voltages are linear. We hear, in a sense, exponentially, which is why we use dBs. We use logarithmic tables to do all this stuff. But the data is actually linear. So if you take the linear data, it's like 65,000, right? So if you put that in, and it probably would actually only go up to like 40,000, like in the real world. You don't even need 16-bit. So what I'm recording now, this is effectively 12-bit. In other words, if you kept quantizing up, if you said, okay, I'm going to give you 1 bit for your audio, 2-bit, 3-bit, and this is in this other video I was doing, and I'm going to do more videos on it. Basically, at 10-bit, you wouldn't hear a difference. I mean, I don't hear much of a difference. Maybe 12, at max 12-bit for anything like this. You're just not going to hear a difference. So as you add more bits, you get up to a point where you don't hear any difference. So like I said, so if you look in 16-bit, you're getting up to 1 to, like, say 40,000, right? You need the integers 1 to 40,000 to represent a voice so it sounds as good as it can possibly sound. So now think about it. If you're up to 1 to 40,000, right? Why do you need 16 million? So if you took in that 16 million, the 24-bit, if you took your 40,000 values and you put them into the 24-bit as the first 40,000 values, so you count 1 to 40,000, those are all your voltages from your equipment, and then from 40, what do you have from 40,000 to 16 million? Nothing. So if you graphed it, right, if you chart it, if you open up your waveform and Audacity, Reaper, Audition, whatever you're using, right, what's the chart going to look like? It's going to look like a line. You're not going to see any detail, right? Because the chart, the y-axis is each x is time, y is the amplitude. So it's showing the amplitudes of 1 to 40,000 in a scale of 1 to 16 million, right? Or 8 million if you're doing the plus and minuses, whatever, right? So think about that, right? You're not going to see it. So all the manufacturers, everybody says, we all know how we're going to use it. We're not interested in the truth of the data. We're interested in just using it. So when we scale the data into 24-bit, we're going to move it around so that when the graph scales from 1 to 16 million, when you're looking at a waveform, you're looking at from the bottom to the top, but it basically averages everything down, right? It rescales everything down to fit. It treats everything in a sense from 0 to 1, right? 0.1, 0.2, whatever, right? There. So it takes a 24-bit, takes all the values, it puts in that range, you see the waveform. Same thing if you do it in 16-bit or 32-bit float. It's the same thing. It's going to scale to where the amount of data that you have. But you think that you're looking at more data in the 24-bit than you're looking at in the 16-bit. And you are not. You're just not, because the distance, like I said, getting back to original thing, you have your 40,000 values from your guitar or your microphone, right? And when I say these 40,000 values, I'm saying as each one goes up, each one is louder, that you could not hear the difference. If you said, listen, 40,000 isn't enough. I need to get 80,000. If you pulled 80,000 numbers from your microphone and guitar, and then you played them, you wouldn't hear a difference. That's what I'm talking about. Like there's, in audio or in anything, there's a point where we don't hear a difference. In fact, we basically can only tell, like if I think it's something like 400. So if somebody played for you just sounds of loudness, like, gradations, and they tried different steps, you could basically hear a difference between 400. So they play it really loud at 1, then they have a super loud at 400, and you could hear each difference. But if they said, okay, we're going to break this up into 800, you wouldn't hear a difference, right? Or if they did like 200, you might be like, yeah, but I'm hearing a big jump. Or 100, like they're big jumps. I could hear things between them, right? There's an optimization. There's a place where we see sort of maximum resolution. It's the same thing. Like if you go close to the TV, right, you see pixels, right? As you move farther away, there comes a point where you don't see the pixels anymore, and everything gets a certain sharpness, and the sharpness doesn't change no matter how far back you go. It's the same sharpness. And it's the same thing in audio. There's a point where everything becomes sharp, but then once you get past it, no matter how many bits you add, how much resolution, you don't perceive any difference. So 40,000, we put it into 24-bit, we scale it up. What it means is that in the 24-bit, between each value, between the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4, it's going something like 100 to 200 to 300 to 400. And there's nothing ever between those amplitudes. It's just wasted space. And so the problem in the industry is that the way we calculate wasted space is in a different way. So the signal to noise ratio, if you look at a microphone, so like on the Rode NT1, right? It lists a signal to noise ratio of 72 dB. Now 72 dB, generally you take 6 bits for every, 1 bit for every 6 dB. So that means Rode themselves are saying our microphone only resolves to 12 bits, essentially. But, again, they're also saying, their guys are saying, hey, 32-bit float reduces clipping. You get the NT1, you won't clip. Well, why would you clip? You don't even generate a signal-to-noise ratio beyond 16-bit. Not even really about 12-bit. I mean, think about it. So anyway, I should get into these. Anyway, so you have the way signal-to-noise ratio is calculated is they will take a sine wave, right, which is really pure sine wave. Like, I'm not doing it justice, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Pure sine wave, and they play it. And the mic will record it, and they'll play it as loud as they can until it clips, and say, okay, these are our maximum values. So in 64-bit, they would say, 16-bit, they would say, okay, we have a maximum value of 32,000, assuming, again, 32,000 for plus and 32,000 values for minus, decompression, compression, whatever. So they get up to 32,000, so we get the sine wave. The top of the sine wave hits 32,000. It's generating all those numbers, 32,000. And we're going to play that. And so we play that, and we get our amplitudes, 32,000 to whatever. Then we stop playing it. And then we just basically record what we're seeing in amplitudes that wasn't in there. So again, the 32,000 is our top amplitude. And now we're not recording anything, but we're seeing a bunch of amplitudes. Let's say around, what's 4 times 8, 32? So like 8,000, right? So we're seeing amplitudes around 8,000, or just noise essentially. So that's our noise. So we're saying, okay, the noise of them, if we have nothing playing, we don't have our signal playing, we have noise, we don't want that. So we're going to subtract the signal basically from 10,000 to 32,000. That's our signal. And our noise is 10,000. So we're going to now count down in decibels from that high point. And that's how we get to the 72 dB, the 12 bits in a sense, right? The 12 bits, what Rode is saying is that if you play the maximum amplitude of a sine wave into this microphone, you're going to get this. If you stop listening to the microphone, if you stop listening to the signal that we're sending, and you're just listening to it just pick up a quiet room, you're going to get this noise. And so the effective range of the microphone is 72 dB. Except some of you astute will say, yeah, well, that's arbitrary. And it is arbitrary. Because how can you know that you're not going to need whatever that noise floor is, right? You don't know. And so when, again, I get tons of comments like, well, this is a noise floor, as if the noise floor is like some God-given place where nothing happens. No, it's not that way. How can you know when you play regular music, not just pure sine waves, that you're not going to need amplitudes in that noise floor, right? You can't, right? You're either playing the signal or you're not playing the signal. And you're making an assumption when you're not playing the signal that nothing coming out there, any of these amplitudes are amplitudes that you need. You don't know that. You're just making an arbitrary decision that, okay, whatever isn't this very artificial wave is something we don't want. So a real, and this is again why I get upset that there are people out there that want to be good audio engineers, that want to get into this stuff, and they're being told lies like 32-bit float removes the gain node and clipping it. So upsets me because no, that person may never discover like, hey, by the way, all this shit is made up. It's all made up. It's all arbitrary. Really, almost it is. Again, it sort of even comes down to that: what's rough, what's passion, what's reality. So you could use a mic. You could take the noise floor. You could do the amp so that you get past the noise floor. You could play the mic. You could sing into the mic, and it would be fine, right? I mean, it would sound like how it sounds, and I guess there wouldn't be noise. You can make an argument. You can make a technical argument. There's no noise. I'm above the noise floor. I am singing. This is the best my voice can sound. But that's not true. Because let's just say that you allowed all the noise in and you sang into the mic, and for whatever happens there, happens there. And you like that sound better, and people like that sound better. Which is truth? One is a very narrow scientific experiment to prove something about what amplitudes are important and what aren't. And the other are people who just emotionally say, I just like you sounding that way with all that noise. Okay, so again, I just wanted to do, I want to do better videos. I want to do videos I'm trying to do videos that are very organized and go this and that, but it's so hard. I get burnt out. Literally, like I said, the past couple of days, I've been so deep into this issue. How do you explain it? How do you explain that the signal to noise ratio that you see everywhere is arbitrary? And how do you understand that bit depth means nothing? Means nothing. What's important is what you want to use from your microphone or your guitar. And there's plenty of bit depth. And what you want to use there is not really a question of bit depth. It's really a question of which voltages you're going to favor with your preamp. And again, that's the video. That's like 4 videos down that I want to do on preamps. That's actually where I want to go. And I keep getting sidetracked. Like again, every subject, like I said, audio is so complicated. On the one hand, I'm saying it's so amazing. On the other hand, I can't get anywhere. It's like quicksand. I can't get out of it. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. Till later.